Hello, Reverend Dr. May Hannon. Today is Saturday, October 28th. Today is the 22nd day since the October 7th Hamas attack in southern Israel. I'd encourage you, we've been doing these daily briefings since the beginning of the war. You could go back and watch those. We've had numerous statements. We've condemned the actions of Hamas, and we will continue to do so. As we have called for an end to the occupation of the Palestinian people, an end to the siege on Gaza. You can look up our work at Church of the Middle East Peace, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've been hearing. The main communications in Gaza have been shut off. It's being called a communications blackout. This makes rescue efforts, humanitarian responses, and reporting about what's happening virtually impossible. So if there's an attack or a bombing, which is happening incessantly in Gaza, people can't call an ambulance. Development agencies can't call and check on their staff. Communication has been virtually shut off. There are some people that do have Israeli phones, and they are able to communicate at a very, very good. And this is on every level, from news to reporting to journalists to development to humanitarian assistance. There are some satellite, but I'm in touch with someone who is able to communicate. And last night at around 11:22 p.m. West Coast time, and I got a message, and this is what it said: "The communication crisis continues. Limited information about the situation outside of my own location, sounds of airstrikes and unlimited military bombardment. No internal communications with the broader development team. I can't confirm the safety of any of the staff. Zero capacity to respond to crisis, and no ability to rescue or provide ambulance." Then in the middle of the night, I've been keeping my phone on. I feel like it's the least thing that I can do. So just before 2 a.m. on the West Coast, I got a message from that same person, and they said, "No one is fine. They're in the process of killing everyone. It's just a matter of time. If only the Western world would kill us all in one attack. Instead, they're killing us slowly, one by one, taking a month a month. The civilized world is killing everyone in Gaza. It would be easier if they could just kill us all at once. You free people in the United States, we love you, but please do something faster. The step-by-step murder of each and every one of us here in Gaza." I wrote back and I said, "No human being should have to go through or witness what you and the people of Gaza are experiencing, but don't give up. Your strength, your patience, your humanity, your heart, none of those things can be taken from you." And they responded and said, "I'll never give up, that's for sure. Even in this very last moment, I'll hug my kids, I'll smile at them, but I just want there to be less pain." And my response to them was, "Give your pain to God. It's too much for any person to carry. The love within you for your family and for others. It's a witness not only of the humanity of the Palestinian people, but also a reminder that love overcomes darkness. Evil will not win. In this moment, it seems to be winning the battle, but this is not the end of the story. You are not alone. May God and the millions of people who are standing with you give you courage and strength to continue and to endure, and to never succumb to hate, and to not let the pain break you." And it's amazing to me that in the middle of one of the worst attacks and bombs going off in Gaza, this person wrote back words of affirmation and kindness to me. And they said, "If we do not make it, and if I am to die in the middle of the night, all that I want is for this evil to end." And he went on to talk about airstrikes and bombing, and said that they are continuing 10 times the severity that they have since the beginning of all of this. And so I wanted to share this with you because I've been praying and praying. And this morning, I had a couple of events today. And the thought that keeps coming to my mind is just that The soul of America is directly and inextricably linked with the future of God. That every one of us, regardless of if we're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Baha'i, secular, every one of us here in the United States, we have got to figure out a way for water to not be cut off in Gaza, for Jewish people to feel safe. There is so much hatred in the United States. There is so much insecurity. And so I'm so grateful. Many of you have been praying. I know on your own with us. We've been praying on Wednesdays. We had a prayer vigil yesterday afternoon that was really beautiful and encouraging. We will do more of that. We have to pray for peace. And I've been talking about what it means to be a peacemaker. And I have felt challenged because I'm so angry, so angry. For anyone to think, well, one, what happened and what Hamas did on October 7th, all of this nonsense about you're not condemning Hamas enough. If anyone's been listening to me, a message that I've been saying over and over again is that for Jewish people in Israel and around the world, they're taught their whole life that people are trying to kill you. And October 7th is the proof that that is the case. It's the exclamation mark on the end of that sentence. And so, friends, we have got to do better at comforting and coming alongside our Jewish friends and community. And so I know a lot of people have been getting criticized, and even Christian groups have been criticized by the Jewish community for feeling abandoned. And I have to say, we can do better and to comfort and come alongside the Jewish community in this moment does not mean that we can't be ardent advocates for the end of the bombing of Gaza and for the end of the occupation of the Palestinian people. And so we have to reject this false binary. We have to. And so part of that is a spiritually transformative process where we have to allow God to transform our anger. And I've not been very good at that. So we must be willing to submit to God the hatred that exists within our own hearts, that the love of God and the love of Christ might draw the hatred from out of us, that love could overcome fear, that love could feel pain, that love, as John Perkins taught me, that love could take the hatred right out of us. So praying that God would break our hearts for the things that break the heart of God. I learned that from World Vision. And that when our hearts aren't big enough, which my heart is not, that God would expand our hearts for the people of Gaza, for Palestinians who've lost loved ones, for every Jewish mother who has had to bury a child, for every Jewish father who's so angry, for every Jewish family who's grieving and said goodbye to someone they know and love, for every act of brutality and violence, be it against a Jewish person or against a Palestinian. And friends, our activism also is needed now more than ever. Water has got to be turned back on in Gaza. And we have to put pressure on President Biden and Secretary Blinken and our administration and Congress. So we have to call for a ceasefire, and end to the bombing. If you haven't done our action alert, we have ways to do that. You could send a note on your own to the White House, to members of Congress. You can find that on our website. Call for the U.S. to support the release of hostages. And our work and our advocacy is so incredibly urgent because of what's happening in Gaza. People are dying and humanitarian access is not getting to them. And I told the White House this week, and I will continue to say so, the efforts of our government are not good enough. And the things that they're telling us are either misinformed or not true about why it's not getting there. Less than 100 trucks in the middle of this type of bombing campaign when water is turned off is not good enough. In the middle of all of that, Israel announced that they've started the second stage of their war against Hamas, and Netanyahu said that it will be long and difficult as the risks of a broader Middle East conflict rise. He said, "We have one main goal: to beat the enemy and guarantee our existence." He was dressed in black as he gave televised remarks. And according to Bloomberg, others kind of calibrated Netanyahu's words and said that his ground offensive is not full scale, as many expected, but rather it's a low intensity conflict. It's inch by inch and meter by meter, which, friends, the people in Gaza don't have time for a long and protracted war if they're being cut off from water and food and gas and electricity. Iran's foreign minister warned that if the U.S. keeps up its unequivocal support for Israel, that the U.S. is risking a broader escalation to regional war. Israel removed their diplomatic corps and staff from Turkey because of rhetoric that was very pro-Palestinian coming from Erdogan, Turkey's leader. And he also sent a warning to Saudi Arabia, warning against an Israeli ground invasion and calling for a ceasefire. And of course, there's still concerns at the northern border of Israel in terms of escalations with Hezbollah. And so Churches for Middle East Peace is calling for people to stand in the gap, give and pray. And we'd encourage you to give to us. You can support organizations that are giving on the ground, but right now that humanitarian assistance isn't getting to people, and we're advocating that at least, humanitarian assistance would make it through. And so you can support advocacy groups like ours. I hope you might consider even becoming a monthly donor to CMEP. We really need your support. And then you could consider giving to groups, that are doing humanitarian work. Take action alerts, contacting members of Congress, but action can be reaching out to your neighbor who maybe is from the Arab world, or sending a note to the rabbi at your local synagogue. We have got to reach across divides in this moment. Tear down those false binaries, and then pray. So we'd invite you to pray with us. If you have a church that would be interested in having one of us come speak, or would like to know more about how we can support you, drop us an email at info@cmep.org. Reach out to us. And I'd like to know what would be the most helpful. I will keep doing these daily updates until the war is over. And so thank you for your support, your prayers. Pray that light overcomes darkness, and that evil would not prevail.